Good evening, PMI Ghana chapter leaders. Good evening to our cherished members, also the non-members and the potential members. My name is Augustine Harrington-Nunoo. I'm the immediate past president of the chapter. I work with one of the largest banks in the country. Today, I'm here to share with you a discussion on value delivery, which I title End Value Management, the incredible performance tool of project managers. What is good or what good is a project that's on time, on budget, and ends up providing the organization with no bottom line results whatsoever? Think about it. What good is a project that's on time, on budget, and ends up providing your organization with no bottom line results? Every project requires some amount of value delivery, and the state we are in now, value is the determining factor. And as we move forward, we'll get to understand why. I want us to look at this outline. I want us to see what we mean by value. What is value? What is project value? End value management. It's been mentioned several times in many forums, especially those of you who are project management professionals. You are very familiar with the word end value management. Today, we'll use the opportunity to really go into it. We also want to look at project health diagnostics using EVM or end value management. We want to have some project sample case in a real life case to see how EVM is working. Now, we also want to talk about Bruce Lee, who many of us knew when we were young. You will be amazed that Bruce Lee was a project manager. And finally, we'll look at the executive view of project management. This is key. The executive, the leaders, the chief executives, the board chairman, the decision makers, how they view project management. So today, we will make it easier to deliver exceptional value to your organization. What is value? According to Warren Buffett, price is what you pay, and value is what you get. Value also means what? Worth, benefit, usefulness of a thing. I tried to get some other explanations or definitions, and the Oxford Dictionary explains value as the worth of something compared to the price paid or asked for it. The worth of something compared to the price paid or asked for it. Think about it. It is deep. The worth of something compared to the price paid for it. So it's just not about the price, but the worth of it. You must compare the worth with the price. The Oxford Dictionary also explains value as the material or monetary worth of something, the regard that something is held to deserve, the importance or worth or usefulness of something. It's also used in reference to something that is well worth the money spent on it. So, value is something which every person or anybody who is exchanging money for it is very much conscious of the worth, the benefit, the usefulness is to derive from it. That is when value can be mentioned as being generated. Let's move on. So, what is business value? Business value is what your customer perceives as worth paying for. So if your customer is paying for something, then they are perceiving that it has some value. Otherwise, success is when business value is achieved. So for a business to say they are successful, they are matching it with when value is achieved. And we'll go further to understand that when the work is completed on time or within budget, is it value? So take note. Success is when business value is achieved. And that is how businesses look at value. So following a project plan to conclusion is not always success if business related changes were necessary but never implemented. Now let's look at project value. My definition of project value is the worth of returns achieved in relation to the costs invested into building or developing that project. I'll repeat it. My definition of project value is the worth of returns achieved in relation to the cost invested into building or developing that project. For instance, 5 million loan each is secured from a bank. We developed two number ultra modern hospitals at two different cities with a 2-year moratorium on interest and principal payment. The project duration is estimated at 24 months. At the end, CTA project is delivered including all the changing needs of the client, that is variations, etc. All these changes to meet current modifications, technological advancements, etc. at a cost of 5.65 million with what 29 months duration. CTB project with the same functionalities, requirements, etc. was completed in 18 months, but at a cost of $3.8 million. Now, CTA project. Remember the budget for the project is $5 million each, which had been secured from the bank. Now, CTA project, we had gone $650,000 cost overrun. In terms of schedule or time, the project was 9 months delayed. You see, as a project manager, as a project practitioner or professional, these are the things that you must always be conscious about. Your mind, your thinking, everything about you is about delivering value, delivering solutions. And these are what your key stakeholders, your sponsor, your executive management, these are the things they are looking up to. They are looking up to the bottom line. So now, what is the ROI or the return on investment? 13% over the budget. So the investors did not gain, but they had to borrow additional 13% of the initial budgeted funds before they will be able to complete the project and start to generate the necessary revenues. So what is the impact? The impact is what? Loss of revenue. Let's say if the project was completed, their cash flow projection shows about 250,000 on the average cash inflows per month. So you have these projects that are delayed for 9 months. That is costing about 2.25 million in terms of revenue loss, plus additional borrowing of 650,000, which the investors had to borrow for the project to be completed. Putting all this together sums up to about $2.9 million due to what? Project delays. As we move further, you'll get to understand why a project of this nature, what could have been done, and whether value was delivered or not. But these are real case instances that befall us all the time. And these are where our minds must be engaged on as project managers. Now, CTB project, they also use the same $5 million budget to deliver the same hospital facility. Now, at the end of the day, they have saved $1.2 million in terms of the project cost. They executed the project at $3.8 million. When we move further, you get to understand why and how some project or project managers can deliver value, deliver savings, and why some also are unable to. Now, regarding schedule, they were able to complete the project 6 months ahead of schedule, and the returns on investment 24% of internal rate of returns was made to the investors. So the investors had what? Saved about $1.2 million out of the budget of $5 million. What is the impact? Revenue gains. The same average $250,000 monthly cash inflow against the 6 months of schedule of time that they saved gives the investor $1.5 million in terms of revenue. Add this $1.5 million, which has been saved for the sake of time, for the sake of delivering the project ahead of schedule, plus the $1.2 million in terms of cost budget that they also saved. This gives a savings of about $2.7 million to the investors. Compare that with the same similar project where there is a cost overrun of $2.9 million to the investor. Now, as an investor, ask yourself, how would you judge the competencies of the two project managers for CTA and CTB projects? Ask yourself, if you were the investor and you had these two project managers, one delivered at CTA and one delivered at CTB, and this is the results they had given you at the end of the day. The high cost of low performance. There's a high cost to low performance. And as project managers, you must always be aware of that. There's a high cost to low performance. And a research done by PMI in 2014 from their Pulse of the Profession report showed that organizations are losing, or organizations lose nearly $109 million. That's about 10.9 or close to 11% for every $1 billion invested in all projects. Why? Due to poor project performance. Due to poor project performance. So organizations are losing about $109 million for every $1 billion invested in projects. for just the sake of poor project performance. And this is clearly seen in projects at CTA, where $2.9 million is a cost against the investor. So now we can understand, we get a better and clearer perspective on what poor project performance is doing or the impact it's having on the project or the health of projects that we execute. And this comes to the domain of the project manager. Good. Now we'll look at end value management. What is end value management? Like I mentioned before, those of us who are very familiar with project management, and especially those who've done the project management certification, must be very well aware of the term end value management. But my question to you is, this incredible performance tool, have you been using it? How well do you use it? And do you really deliver any project with it? Well, end value management is said to be the proven or is proven to be one of the most effective performance measurement and feedback tools for managing projects, period. It is proven to be one of the most effective performance measurement and feedback tools for managing projects. You can believe it or not, but it is proven. So EVM has been called management with lights on because it can help clearly and objectively illuminate where a project is and where it is going, as compared to where it was supposed to be and where it was supposed to be going. So EVM, or end value management, helps to clearly and objectively, note these words, clearly and objectively illuminate, shed light on where a project is and where it is going, as compared to where it was supposed to be and where it was supposed to be going. So if the application of EVM or end value management to a project reveals that the project is behind schedule or over budget, the project manager can use EVM methodology to help identify where the problem is occurring, whether the problems are critical or not, what it will take to get the project back on track. I place here example CTA project. So the project manager in charge of CTA project, did he utilize the EVM methodology to find out where the problem of his cost overrun was occurring, what was causing his schedule delays, and whether whichever thing was causing it was critical or not, and most importantly, what it would take to bring it back on track. Did CTA project manager do any of this? I believe he did not. I believe he's unaware of the incredible performance tool of end value management. So EVM can play a crucial role in answering management questions that are critical to the success of every project, such as, are we ahead of or behind schedule? Remember, these are what? Answering what? Crucial questions that are critical to the success of every project. And these are crucial questions that management require answers to. So as a project manager, if you are to meet your management, or if you are running a project and at any point in time you are not on top of any of this, you do not know whether you are ahead of schedule or behind schedule. You do not know how efficiently you are using your time on the project. You are unaware of when the project is likely to be completed, whether we are under budget or over budget, how efficiently we are using our resources, what is the remaining work of the project likely to cost, what is the entire project likely to cost, how much will we be under or over budget at the end of the project. If you are not on top of all these management questions, then I wonder, or I advise that you probably must set up if you are a project manager. These are questions, management questions that require answers to all the time. And as we move further, you get to understand why. Well, let me give a little more about why EVM is such a crucial performance tool that every project manager must be aware of and be utilizing. In the US, EVM principle is strongly recommended for a project over $20 million. Listen, it is strongly recommended for a project of over $20 million. But what? It is mandatory for a project of more than $50 million for what? Project monitoring and control. So it is a mandatory thing in US for a project, any project that is more than $50 million, EVM principle must be implemented. But if it is 20 million or even less, or from 20 million, it is highly recommended. NASA is one of the leading federal agencies in the US government, applying project management principles consistently. The US Department of Defense updates end value management systems requirements for federal contractors. New regulations based on an American national standard. New York. This is what May 21, 2008. And this is what it said. End value management, or EVM, a project management technique used for objectively measuring a project's progress, is an essential element of program management and procurement within the US Department of Defense. Contractors working with the DoD, the Department of Defense, are required to establish and maintain EVM systems. And this is the US government. So the DoD is not the only agency to recognize the value of voluntary consensus standards for EVM systems. So you realize that it is not only Department of Defense that is recognizing the essence of EVM systems implementation in their project. The Department of Energy, the General Services Administration, they are all. In fact, if you check the budget for the DoD alone, I believe it's over 65 or so billion dollars. So you can understand, just a department with budget of over $60 billion, and you can understand why they require EVM implementation on all projects. Now we'll switch to project health diagnostics with EVM. And over here, I want to give a sample project case. This is a sample project case, and it's a real project case. This is a construction of a four-story hostel complex. Unfortunately, I will not mention where and the client, but the project budget was 15.7 million cedis. The duration is 18 months or was 18 months. The start date was May 2014 and the completion date was November 2015. The business objective was that they had to complete by November 2015 to enable students occupy the facility so that they can commence repayment of the bank's loan and ensure the repayment of the loan is on course and also making profits as per their cash flows. So this hostel facility was to serve a business purpose, which is to be able to repay itself in terms of the loan that was taken from the bank and also make some good profits. So this is a summary of the status report as of December 2014. Remember, the project commenced in May 2014. So barely 6 or 7 months after the project had commenced, this is the report. We have ABC. A is the contractor's report as at December 18, 2014. The planned percentage complete is 40%. They are planned to complete 40%. But per their own report, the actual percentage complete was 36.2%. The consultant on the project also reported for the same December 18, 2014. Unfortunately, they could not give their planned percentage complete, but they were able to give their actual percentage complete as 35%, whereas the contractor had given themselves 36.2%. The independent PM assessment as at December 18, 2014 is that the plan percentage complete if the MSP, which is the Microsoft project, was used, was should be 37%. And if EVM application was used, was supposed to be about 41%. Now, it also gave that if MSP was used, the actual percentage complete would be 28%. But if EVM, which is end value management, was used, or when end value management was used by the independent project manager, it gave 26.77% as the actual work completed. Compare this 27.77%, let's say 27%. Compare this with the 35% given by the consultant and the 36% given by the contractor. And these are some of the real cases you meet all the time. So they would have given this, which is about 10% at variance compared with the EVM. And frankly, I do not know which methods they used, but I know the independent PM has used EVM. Now, let's continue to see the health of the project and understand. So, this four-story hostel project were made up of blocks A, B, C, and D. So, four different blocks, all four-story high. was being constructed all started the same time, and they were to be completed within 18 months. This is when EVM or end value management was applied. One second. When end value management was applied, this is the result that came. So the end value management system looked at or analyzed this in terms of the schedule, the cost, this on forecasting. So under schedule analysis, the project schedule analysis, yes, the management question is, are we ahead or behind of schedule? We want to know. So the end value management system was able to produce that we are 35% behind schedule. It went further to explain that 35% of the planned work has not been accomplished. Then we also ask the management question of how efficiently are we using time? Are we efficient on time management? The result is that 65% work efficiency is being achieved. So when you relate it to what happens at the project site of this particular contractor, instead of 8 hours a week of work, which is required a day on its workforce, only 5 hours and 12 minutes of work was being achieved. And this, unfortunately, is at the blind side of the contractor. They are unable to measure the work efficiency, but EVM is measuring it. So EVM has been able to show us that 65% of work efficiency is being achieved. Now let's go to the project cost analysis. Are we under or over budget? EVM application gives us that we are 20% over budget for the work performed. So far, all the work that we have done, we are 20% over budget. EVM goes further to find out how efficiently are we using the project resources. And the result was that 84 pesos worth of work is being achieved for every 1 Ghana cedi spent to date. Can you imagine that? For every 1 Ghana cedi that we invest in the project, we are getting 84 pesos, meaning that we lose 16 pesos per every 1 Ghana cedi. Who is saying this? The contractor is very unaware. In fact, the project manager, unfortunately, doesn't also know what is happening to the health of his project. And these are the little things which nobody sees, nobody is unable to measure, and they aggregate, and yet ends up becoming like this project at the CTA, which almost 2.9 million had to be coughed up by the investors. So for every 1 Ghana cedi that had been spent to date, we're losing 16 pesos. 16 pesos for every 1 Ghana cedi. So you can imagine if 1 million Ghana cedi is invested, how much would have lost? And EVM is what fortunately is shedding light on all these. Now, on the same project cost analysis, the management question we ask again is how efficiently must we use the remaining resources. So the beauty about the EVM system, which I encourage you strongly to take it to heart, is that apart from diagnosing where the troubles or the problems, the issues are, is able to also provide solutions. And that is what makes you unique as a project manager. You should be able to identify the issues and, most importantly, deliver solutions. So we ask, how efficiently must we use the remaining resources? The result here is that we must improve performance from the 0.84 or the 84 pesos to 1.08 efficiency for the remaining work in order to achieve the initial budget at completion. So if we intend that, so far we know we are 20% over budget, but we want to correct things, then at least at the end of the project we should be able to meet our project budget, initial budget of the 15.7 billion. What then we have to do from now is that we have to increase efficiency or improve efficiency from 0.84 to 1.08. If we're able to do that, that is the only chance for us to meet our initial budget. So we do a forecast, and thanks again to the EVM methodology, we are able to forecast what is the project or work likely to cost. The result is that the project is likely to cost us over 18 million Ghana cedi. Remember, our initial budget was about 15.7 million. So if things remain the same and we're unable to improve efficiency, then we are likely to go about 18.8 million against our initial budget of 15.7 million. So will we be under or over budget? This is a forecast, and we should be able to tell management. We should have this on our fingertips at any point in time. These are the health of your project. You should know, where is your project heading to? Would you be ahead? Would you be over? What is likely to happen to your project? And we're able to see from now that we will be over 3 million Ghana cedi over budget as of now. As of December 18, 2014, we're able to project ahead of time that if things remain same, at the end of the project, we would have spent over 3 million additional. Then the question again is, what will the remaining work, or what will the remaining work be? The remaining work will require about 13.7 million. And when are we likely to finish the project? We said 28 months instead of the initial 18 months. Can you imagine this? A project that has been scheduled for 18 months. Now we are likely to go to 28 months. And remember, the objective, the business objective of the project, which I have shown you earlier, was that the project should finish by November 2015, so that the students can come in and occupy the facility, pay their hostel fees, and the investor will then be able to pay the bank's loan, pay interest, start repaying the bank's loan. But now you have a project which was supposed to be in 18 months now to finish in 28 months, almost 10 months delay. Can you quantify the cost in terms of loss of revenue and also the additional cost This is exactly what happened to the hospital project of CTA. These are real case issues, and these must be issues that must always be in the minds of our project managers to address. So you are able to use the EVM system to generate this report, the end value analysis. Clearly, maybe another time we'll have to talk about how to set metrics, your key performance indicators, how to develop a dashboard and all that. This, let's say, is able to straight away from the EVM analysis give you this report. So straight away, I'm able to see, you see the end value is the red label, actual cost is the green, the plan value is the violet. I'm straight away able to see that block C, in terms of end value, block C and block D, we are doing well compared to block A. I'm also able straight away to see our performance indicators, that in terms of schedule performance, in terms of how we are doing on time, block A is far behind time, whereas block C is far ahead of time. Estimate at completion, variance analysis. So with this system, you're able to generate all this, and this makes it easier for you to make a presentation to even your management or to your project stakeholders. This is what even is before you're able to know the health of each project. Clearly, I know I am not doing so well, or this project is not doing so well, especially with time on project A or block A. So you have to pin in to understand what is happening. Or block C, you are doing well. What is happening? Block C, you also realize in terms of cost performance, we are not doing too well with block C, even though we are doing very well in terms of time. So straight away, this gives a snapshot of how the health of your project is going. So I try to put a summary here, and we must be very familiar with some of these terms. The CV is the cost variance, the SV is the schedule variance, the plan duration. You realize that block A, we are about 13% behind, 13% over budget. We are about 48% behind schedule. Our planned completion was supposed to be 18 months, but we are likely to complete in 35 months. So the variance at completion is that we are most likely to finish the project at 13% cost overrun. Let's see block C. Block C, like I mentioned, we're not doing too well in terms of cost performance, but we're doing better in terms of schedule. You realize that we're 23% over budget, whereas block A, we're just 13% over budget. We're 48% behind schedule for block A, but block C, we're 26% behind schedule. And we are likely to finish block C in 24 months, whereas block A will be in 35 months. So all these results, you're able to generate it with the application of this wonderful, incredible performance tool called end value management or EVM. So we're able to see the overall status that is putting all together. That is how come you realize that we said we are 20% over budget and we're 35% also behind schedule, as we saw in the report. Let me go back for you to see. Yes, you see that under the schedule analysis, are we behind or ahead of schedule. We say we're 35% behind schedule. When you come under the cost, you realize that we're 20% over budget. So that is, sorry, let me show the full screen. Yes, so the overall status of putting all together, we are 20% over budget and 35% behind schedule. And you realize that, yes, we saw that we're 26.77% done in terms of the actual work completed. And the plan was 40.96. When we were getting this, the contractor was getting around 36% as the actual done, whereas the consultant was also giving about 35% as the actual done. But this is an objective performance analysis done by the use of the EVM. So we got this result. These are some of the terms which you may be very familiar with. I may not need to go into it, but those of you who are familiar with end value management, BAC is budget at completion. That's your baseline project cost, your initial project budget. The AC is the actual cost in terms of amount, physical cost that you are paid. The end value or EV is the physical work completed during a given period. So we have the planned value, the SPI, the shadow performance index. This tries to find the efficiency in terms of your time. How efficient are we doing on time? In terms of CPI, which is cost performance index, also looks at our cost efficiency. How efficient are we doing on cost and all that. So I believe this is not too clear, but I had to compress it here. And then, but let's try and see what we can make of it. I tried to put only block C report here. And this is a typical system that we've generated to cater or to record our values, information for the EVM data. So you see, we have the item description. This is a construction project. This is a hostel facility, like I mentioned earlier. So those of you familiar with projects, I think you know some of this. You see the items, this under block C. You see preliminaries, day work, substructure, superstructure, concrete work, staircase, block work, roofing, carpentry, joinery, and all that. I had to capture just a few. And you see, this is the BAC, the overall BAC. That's the budget at completion. This is the budget for only block C. That's 3.5 million. At the time, which is the December 18, the planned value was supposed to be about 1.7 million. The end value, what the physical work that has been performed, was 1.2 million. And the actual cost, money that has been spent for this work done, was 1.5 million. So we had cost variance of over 288,000, which is the 23% over budget. And then, so this is just to give you an idea. You input all this data, you feed it, and you try. And this is not a software or any tool. This was physically developed. All you need is to get the basic understanding of how end value implementation is, all that is about, and you use Excel. This is an Excel that has been generated, putting the end value information requirement into. Then you use it to generate your report. So you see the CPI, which is 0.81, meaning that we're getting about For every 1 Ghana cedi that we're spending, we get 881 pesos worth, and we're about 26% behind schedule. So the TCPI is the to complete performance index. So for block C, for us to be able to meet the initial budget, we have to move from 0.81 to 1.14 in order for us to get block C on schedule. In terms of the overall project budget, when we complete, you look at the estimate to complete, variance at completion, and all that. So this is just giving you for only block C. Like I mentioned that I'm not putting all the others together, just for you to see how this information we're trying to derive it. You see the 23% budget or cost overrun at completion. This showed in the summary report. You will see at the summary report for block C, you see 23% cost variance or variance at completion, 23%. All right. So the status, when it is red, let me go back to the status here for you to understand over here. This is the status color key. When it's green, that means we are on track. When it is yellow, we are slightly behind schedule or budget. When it is red, it means it requires or it needs immediate attention. And when it's black, it needs to be killed or restored. And these are parameters you set at what that uh, that when you fall into, it means you are on the status of red or yellow. You put in based on the appetite or the requirements of your management. You're able to put that threshold. So this is a summary of all the various blocks. So this is block C, block D, block A, and B. There was some external work. So you realize that putting all the summaries together, that is how come our plan, this thing which is 18 months, we are likely to complete in 28 months. You see, that's why you see our actual completion is 26.77 against the plan of 40.96. So at the summary, you're able to clearly also see which of the blocks that you are doing well, where you are not doing well, what's the issues, and it makes it easier and flexible for you to manage your project. And that is the tool called EVM. Good. Now, let's see Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee, did you know that Bruce Lee was a project management practitioner? Did you know that? Well, as some of us, when we're growing up, we heard a lot about Bruce Lee. You know, he died quite young at age 32. But my dear friends, Bruce Lee was a great leader, and I will tell you why shortly. He clearly understood and practiced the principles of project management. To me, this is key. This is key. He clearly understood and practiced the principles of project management. One, according to Bruce Lee, knowing is not enough. You must apply. That is exactly what project management is about. The application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to deliver project and business objectives. So we are in the business to do what? To apply, to bring our skills to bear. We must apply. We must bring our skills to bear. And I tell you, if you cannot or do not apply the knowledge acquired in project management, then I'm sorry, you are not one. You are not a project manager. You are not a project management practitioner or a project management professional. If you are not applying the knowledge acquired in project management, then you are not one. He also said, willing is not enough, you must do. We are not in the business of I will do this or that. If I say we, the project management professionals, project management practitioners and all that, we are not in the business of I will do this or that. Just do it. See, in this profession, there is no tolerance for failure and non-performance. In fact, that is the reason why NASA is one of the major entities that utilize project management a lot. We deliver or do what we are empowered or engaged to deliver to the satisfaction of the customer without excuses. That is what we are about. That is who we are. This is our brand. We deliver. We don't give excuses. We don't say I'll do this or I'll do that. Just do it. We are people always in action, delivering solutions, delivering value. This is your brand as a project manager. Just do it. He's quoted as saying, I'm not afraid of the person who has practiced 10,000 kicks, but I'm afraid of the one who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. And that's it. Focus to become the expert in delivering value early, one at a time, than attempting everything and delivering nothing at the end of the project. So Bruce Lee says that he is not afraid of the person who has practiced 10,000 kicks. Rather, he is afraid of the one who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. And it's all about focus. It's all about delivering value. It's all about focusing and being the expert and delivering the needed value one at a time than attempting everything and delivering nothing at the end of the day. Last but not least, he said, to hell with circumstances. I create opportunities. We provide solutions. We provide value solutions only and not complaints or problems. So to hell with circumstances. We do not encourage. We are not the people always talking about problems. We are creating opportunities and delivering value solutions. And these are what define Bruce Lee. And you can imagine what made him a young man, a person who died at the age of 32. But he has remained a legend in the hearts of so many people for all these years, even after his death. Now we'll come to the executive view of project management. And I can mention from the onset, this is key, and I am happy that we put all this together for us to get the understanding of where we are and what we must be doing and what we have that we can leverage on to be the leaders in the market. For more than 20 years, becoming a PMP, project management professional, was seen as the light at the end of the tunnel. Today, that has changed. Becoming a PMP is the light at the entryway to the tunnel. The light at the end of the tunnel may require multiple certifications and experience. For instance, the following certifications are being pursued in addition to a PMP. So those of us who think that you have a PMP, so that's it, you are finished. It used to be so 20 years ago. Now, having a PMP is the entryway to the tunnel. It is not more the light at the end of the tunnel, it is the entryway. So let's set up and embrace the change. Embrace the change so that we can always be ahead and lead the market. So the following certifications are being pursued in addition to the PMP: business analysis, Scrum, project or program management, agile project management, change management, Six Sigma, risk management, balance scorecard, business model canvas, portfolio management. Other training programs that executives feel would be beneficial for the future. You see, these are also research that was done to find out the angle, the view of the executives, the leaders. And these are some of the things that they are looking up to. Beyond that, the executives feel that there are certain other training programs that would be beneficial for the future. And it includes your ability to establish metrics and key performance indicators. It is very important. It is very important that you should be able to even first of all understand metrics. What are the metrics that you are looking at for you to be able to establish them? There are a whole lot of metrics, but which of them must you consider and which of them are the key metrics or the key performance indicators that you require? We are now also looking at dashboard design. You should be able to design dashboards because that gives clearly a bird's eye view of the health of anything, your project, just at a click. So you can look at dashboard as the dashboard in your vehicle. I don't think that if your vehicle was calculating the speedometer as 20 times 1000 minutes run, if that is what is showing on the dashboard, and for you to calculate it, you will be okay. But the dashboard goes straight to the point: 50 kilometers per hour. You are running at 50 kilometers, but the computation behind is not being shown. So dashboard design you are looking at there. How to perform feasibility studies and cost benefit analysis is key. As project managers, as practitioners, you should be able to perform feasibility. You should be able to assess the environment, the business needs, to see whether the business, in fact, we are in the stage where we are part of the executive. We are no more at the point where decisions are made and thrown at you. In fact, if you are still in that state, then it means you have not shown yourself so valuable for your organization to see you as giving value. So they are looking to the ability for you to do feasibility and also cost benefit analysis. Why must our company or the organization do project A and not project B? Or we have 5 projects. Why must the 5th project be done first and the 3rd one located somewhere be done last or be done second? How do you prioritize? I mean, the cost benefit analysis. All this you are looking at. Business case development. Like I mentioned just, you as a project manager must be able to present strong business case to even earn a grant or get some sponsorship or get some financing from the bank for your project. And your ability to develop a business case, it is key. how to validate and revalidate project assumptions. This is also an area that perhaps we don't take much look at because you realize I don't know how it is done because you find several projects whether the project assumptions is just for them sitting down somewhere. Oh, well, this one let's give it 2 months, this one let's give it 1 month. Is that how it is done? If it is so, no. Assumptions must be validated, it has to be revalidated. The assumptions, it is not a guesswork. It is something that has been scientifically computed, measured, that it falls real in line. And they are looking at, you cannot just go and give an assumption which doesn't even come close, and that who will take you seriously? How to establish project governance. As a project manager, you need all this. How to manage multiple stakeholders. In this era of PPP, public-private partnerships, where sometimes you have foreign donors or foreign investors in a project, you have the government, you have the local contractor with the foreign one, you have even the, how do you call it, the local stakeholders, the assembly, the chiefs. They have a whole lot of your ability to manage these multiple stakeholders makes you stand out. And these are all things that is required of a project manager. Your sponsors must be able to sleep, be thinking, going for other projects, whilst you knowing that you are in control of all the stakeholders. How are you managing the government? You have interest in this project. The bank has an interest. The promoter, the investor, the chiefs, the DC or whatever, they all have interest. How are you managing all these different interests so that your project is not unduly impacted negatively? How to develop coping skills and stress management. These are all key things that they are looking up to because, in fact, there's been some projects that over here in Ghana, like I mentioned, that I mean, where I work, we fund a lot of projects. I mean, we are always on the go, and we are very much interested in the health of the project. So long as our funding is in it, we don't go and sit and sleep. We are part and parcel of it. We are a stakeholder. And we've been on projects where you find, you hear today there's the project manager on so and so project, you ask on the sense of, for instance, on the motorway and suddenly it's gone off. It's dead. It happens. There are stress. There are major issues. Your ability to cope with stress, your ability to cope and develop certain resilience, certain flexibility, so that your health is not unduly impacted. It is all key, and we must not gloss over. How to design and implement fluid or adaptive enterprise project management is also key. So all these things, they are being sought after, and as project practitioners, we should not relent in looking at some of these skills. I will try to look into what has changed, what has changed from what we've always known about. We've always been very familiar with the triple triangle. Some call it the iron triangle, the scope, cost, and the schedule. The diagram here shows the difference between that and the current triangle, the agile methods. And that is where we have shifted to. Now, the focus, which used to be your ability to deliver within scope, schedule, and cost is no more, you would have delivered within all this scope, schedule, and if there's no value to it, who cares? I mean, you have lost. Like we mentioned earlier, that business value is what business value is the what is perceived as paying for is not as what you define as business value. The success, paying the value that they have generated. Now, you look at this new agile triangle. The focus is what? On value. You are on quality, on constraint. These are the major things that is defining the outcome of the project that you have delivered, and the business is making sense with it. You have finished the project, yes, on time or within scope, but they didn't give them the needed value. Did they achieve the needed quality? Well, so this is where the shift is, and we must incline our thinking towards there. We'll make a comparison of the agile and the traditional methods. And let's see something here. This is the approach, and this is the agile methods, and this is the waterfall or the traditional methods. The approach is that the emphasis here for agile on the issue on the approach, when we look at the agile looks at emphasizes its approach on the people, whereas the traditional system, which we are very familiar with, which we've been doing all, is on process, is process oriented. But agile is people oriented. It says that it's the people who are to carry out whatever activity, and it's the people, your ability to manage or motivate them, they will deliver. You can put in a process, but it's the people who must drive the process. So agile emphasizes on people. The domain where agile operates is more on unfamiliar territories, unpredictable places. But the traditional system is focused on the domain is more on a predictable environment. So you know that from here you must go here, from there you must go there. Predictable. But agile survives in all terrains, and especially where you cannot predict, agile is very much easy to deliver there. Documentation. There's only a minimal documentation required under agile, only as required. Whereas when you go to the waterfall or the traditional system, very comprehensive documentation is required. For instance, you pick one of these projects, even the case project that I gave, you will see only contract documents in volumes with agreement, with designs, a whole lot of this, comprehensive, a whole lot of documentation. Agile goes straight to the point, only as required. Quality assurance, agile looks at the customer. Their focus is on the customer. It's customer centric. Whereas when you go to the traditional method, in terms of quality, if you have achieved quality, it means you have followed the process. It is process centric. That is when you would have achieved quality. And in terms of the style, the process style, agile is iterative, whereas waterfall or the traditional is linear. Organizational method, agile is self-organized. So the people who the emphasis on, they are self-organized, but waterfall or the traditional method requires that somebody is managing. And we believe in modern trends that when people are self-organized, they're able to deliver better, they're able to be innovative, and also deliver higher value and returns for the organization. Unlike the other one, which is like command style. And in terms of planning, upfront planning, agile is very low. There's low upfront planning. Traditional method, upfront planning is high. In fact, for one project, one simple project to take off, sometimes the planning alone is in months. Some could even be in years. Whereas, so you spend all 3 months, 6 months, or whatever planning, they are not looking at the time value and the loss of revenue for all these 6 months that had been wasted in planning. What could have been achieved? I mean, the revenues that could have been generated if the project had started. So the traditional system doesn't really care about value. So the perspective towards change, agile is adaptable, whereas the traditional is sustainable. Sustainability. It looks if the change is sustainable, then fine. But agile builds flexibility so that it is adaptable to every situation. Prioritization of requirements. Agile sees prioritization based on value. Based on value. So if I have 10 activities, it will be prioritized based on value. Where there is much value being generated, that is what will be delivered first according to Agile. But when you go to the traditional system, its prioritization is based on what is fixed in the project plan. So it doesn't care about which business value is coming first or what we would be generating or whatever revenues we could have generated if this one was done first. It's not looking at it. It looks only about what is in the project plan. The management style, agile is decentralized, whereas the traditional is autocratic. The leadership style too, agile is collaborative and servant leadership, whereas the traditional is command and control. Performance management, agile looks at the business value. That's what we use to measure performance. The traditional system looks at whether you conform to the plan, then it means you have met the performance measurement. Returns on investment. Agile looks at returns as early throughout the project life. So with Agile, a project with a span of let's say 3 months or 6 months, Agile will not wait for you to get the value at the end of the 3 or 6 months. The first month, at every stage or at every sprint, there must be a value being delivered. Whereas the traditional system will deliver value only at the end of the project. Let's see one example here. The traditional method, this is the value we are looking for to be delivered. Now, the traditional system, let's say this is a span of, let's say 6 months. Now, the traditional method in 6 months will now spend the time to analyze, to design, start doing implementation, testing, and by the time they released at the end of the 6 months, this is what they would have released. Whereas you came to the same thing for the Agile, for the same similar project. Yes, within the first month or whatever, there's a first sprint. So there's a first value deliverable which has been made and delivered to the customer, gone to the market, and is now earning returns. At the second sprint, you see another deliverable here delivered. The third, the fourth. So by the time of the 6th month, I mean, almost the whole thing has been delivered. You have just a little to deliver. So the agile does not wait for the whole period to finish before the deliverable or the product, the end product can be released. It releases It believes that at every stage in point, something can be delivered for the market, for the client, for the customer to start earning returns. So this is the principle and the concept of agile. So executives have come to the realization that there is a return on investment in project management education. Therefore, executives are now investing heavily in customized project management training. It is said that one executive commented that he felt that presentation skills training was the highest priority for his project managers. He thinks that if a project manager makes a poor presentation, then the client might believe the project is managed the same way. Thank you.